Hey everyone, today is February 10th, 2024, and this video is going to be about Super Bowl 58, which is happening tomorrow, Super Bowl Sunday on 2/11. And I'm going to show you a bunch of 2/11s that are connected to the Super Bowl with various events, past events and current events. And there's a huge Star Wars theme with this Super Bowl, and we're going to go through that. And in addition to a Star Wars theme, there's also an air theme. And I'll show you how that kind of connects as well. And I'm also going to show you some like Persian connections. I just did the video about the movie 300, how it perfectly shows the two X's that are going to be formed over the United States with the upcoming eclipse on April 8th, 2024. How that was perfectly scripted into the movie 300, because that eclipse coming up is going to be Millennium Lunation 300, but there's a Persian theme as well, and we'll get to that. But I want to show you all the Super Bowl 58 Star Wars connections here. First of all, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. The nickname for that stadium is the Death Star. I'll show you another slide here on some of these in a second. And then, of course, probably the most iconic Star Wars character is Darth Vader. And like I said, there's an air theme that I'm going to go with you guys here in a minute. But, of course, Darth Vader, famous for his labored machine-aided breathing. And I'll show you how that's connected to Patrick Mahomes, number 15. And there's a 2/11 theme, because the Super Bowl is on 2/11, of course, but Patrick Mahomes, number 15. First prime is 2, fifth prime is 11 for 2/11, and I'll show you some other 2/11s as well. Of course, we have the upcoming X eclipse. It can be represented by the X-Wing fighter, and then the Millennium Falcon. Taylor Swift will be flying into Las Vegas after a concert in Japan on her Dassault Falcon 7X. So there's a Millennium Falcon connection to Taylor Swift's jet. And in case you don't know, the origin of Darth Vader is from the Japanese culture of the samurai. That's what George Lucas based Darth Vader on. I can leave a link to this if you want, but in case you didn't know that little piece of trivia, that Darth Vader, his character is based on a samurai from the Japanese culture. And there is a Japanese theme to this too. Like I said, Taylor Swift is going to be flying in on her Falcon 7X from Japan to go along with this Star Wars and Japanese theme that I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so this slide here, or this picture here, is from the video from January 2nd of 2024. There was a runway collision in Japan, and it was a Airbus A350 collided with a smaller jet. I have it up here. The Haneda Airport runway collision, but this larger jet collided with a smaller plane here, and that the smaller plane was actually flying to provide earthquake relief. Now, of course, there is an earthquake theme from the past with Taylor Swift's concert, so that's kind of interesting. And I'm going to show you another earthquake connection here to the Super Bowl too. There's an earthquake connection with the Georgia Guidestones. Okay, so this Haneda Airport runway collision with the larger jet that collided with the smaller jet that was going to provide earthquake relief. But this particular airline, Japan Airlines, this is they lost this plane, which is actually the first time an Airbus A350 the hull was lost. There was a completely destroyed. But their last hull loss was in 1985. This Japanese Airlines, and it was Flight 123, and it had to do with a decompression of the cabin. Now that goes along with my air theme. And I'm just going to kind of go through this real quick. I'm not going to go real in depth here, but just kind of keep this air and decompression theme in the back of your mind here. But yes, this crash was caused by a decompression of the plane due to a structural failure. So we have that kind of connection here, but this happened in Japan on the 2nd, and from the video here, if you take a look over here where the video was shot, where the two planes collided on the runway, there's a plane here with the Star Wars livery on the painted on the side of the plane here. So that's kind of where we're getting another connection to Star Wars. And like I said, this is out of all the Super Bowls, this Super Bowl is just super charged, synchronistically with all this, with all these themes. It's crazy how they kind of all come together here. Just amazing, all the Star Wars connections here. But here's the Allegiant Stadium. Its nickname is the Death Star, and if you want to read this here, of course the Death Star gets blown up, right? There's like that's an air thing, right? Death Star gets blown up by the Millennium Falcon. Now we're going to take a look at the Persian Connection here, and the Persian Connection also connects with the air connection. Now Darius is a boy's name of Persian and Greek origin, right? And I just showed you the video, right? The Greeks versus the Persians was the theme of the movie 300, and we're coming up on the Millennium Lunation 300 that's going to form the X, the two X's over the United States. Okay, Darius. Now I'll just real quick show you what is connected there with Darius. We go to the Second Temple of the Persian Empire. This has to do with Persia here, but the Second Temple following Solomon's Temple, it was built during the time of Darius the First. The completion of the Second Temple at the time of the Persian king Darius the First, and Darius the First, he was succeeded by Xerxes the First. Okay, so there's our connection there. I'm just going to go through this real quick. You guys can go in depth more if you want, but I'm just going to cover the major themes here. But the part that connects this here, we have the Persian and Greek with Darius, is that we just had these two stories come out, I think maybe even on the same day or one day apart. Darius Rucker, of course, he's known for Hootie and the Blowfish, right? He was arrested on drug charges in Tennessee, and this story is actually, I think the initial incident was like February of 2023, but the story came out on February 2nd, 1st or 2nd, and then this story came out as well about a guy who died from eating a blowfish or a pufferfish. They're the same thing. Of course, the pufferfish, or fugu, it has to be prepared very carefully because of the poisonous nature of the blowfish or the pufferfish. But there was another story on the same day about a guy who died in Brazil from eating a poisonous pufferfish. Okay, so there's our Darius connection, and he's from Hootie and the Blowfish. Of course, he's known for that. But I want to show you something interesting. If we look at Hootie and the Blowfish and look at the ordinal gematria, it's 218, and just want to show you something kind of interesting. Darius Rucker, he was born on May 13th, 1966. There's his birthday here. And on 2/18/2024, so a week after the Super Bowl, 2/18, he's going to be 21,000. It'll be 21,100 days after his birth. So there's a 211. And in case you're wondering another connection to the Super Bowl, apparently Darius Rucker has been to more than a dozen Super Bowls, and this is a video of him back from 2020 during the first Chiefs and 49ers matchup back in 2020. And it's kind of funny here, but he actually has an X on his shirt, and he's actually in Las Vegas right now preparing for the Super Bowl. He was there with Miami quarterback Tua. So it's just interesting that he is just super connected to Super Bowls. He's been to so many Super Bowls, more than a dozen Super Bowls. And he has this Hootie and the Blowfish connection, of course. He was arrested on the same day a guy died from eating a puffer fish. And the poison, of course, that goes along with my channel. The wormwood event poisons the water. And I'll show you kind of how that connects as well with another 211. Okay, let's get back to these slides here. So a blowfish or pufferfish, okay, when you prepare it, it's called fugu, the Japanese fugu. You have to be especially, the restaurant preparation of fugu is strictly controlled by law in Japan, right? Another Japanese connection here. Now, when I saw this article about Darius Rucker and this pufferfish news here about this guy that ate the poison pufferfish, in my life, I've only seen a handful of episodes of The Simpsons, and this is the only episode of Simpsons that I actually can remember, that I actually, could remember from way back in the day, and I just happened to jog my memory because this is the only one I've ever really seen or ever really remembered the whole plot to it. This is a very interesting episode of Simpsons. It has kind of a serious tone to it because Homer, he goes out to eat with his family and he orders fugu and he eats the fugu and the chef didn't prepare it right and he thinks that he's going to get poisoned and die. And you can see this is season 2, episode 11, right? 211, just like the Super Bowl. But it's really weird because this is literally the only Simpsons episode that I can personally remember myself, and just because it has that kind of serious theme to it. So Homer, he goes to the doctor, and the doctor gives him 24 hours to live, right? We're in the year 2024, and it's interesting, he has a list of things to do before he dies, and one of those things, he wants to hang out with his dad, and they go fishing, right? And they talk about getting worms, right? How many times do you use or see the word worm in any kind of, the word worm itself is just not a very commonly used word unless you're specifically talking about fishing, right? And it's just kind of interesting there that I had such an interesting synchronicity with this episode, and when I looked it up, it just happened to be season 2, episode 11. So let's look at a few more 211s. Like I said, we kind of have this Darius. Darius is connected to Persia. There's a Persian theme connected with the X eclipses. But I want to go back and show you this. It has to do with the 15. If I can find it here. So there is back in 2020, there was this Iranian military officer, Qasem Soleimani, and he was killed in an airport bombing, and he's kind of connected to this too. If you look at the dates, he was born on March 11th, 1957, and I was just looking at this because I always keep that Iran in the back of my mind because, Iran, Iraq, the cradle of civilization, right in the middle of where, ancient Persia, the Persian Empire was. But if we go from his birth to the Super Bowl, you can see it's 803 months exactly. 803 months. And what's interesting about that is, football is 83. Football 83. And then he died on 1/3/2020. And it's exactly 1,500 days from his death to the Super Bowl, right? We have that 1-5. Patrick Mahomes is 1-5. Oh, I'm going to show you this article real quick. So here's the article with Patrick Mahomes, right? They're kind of comparing him to Darth Vader, like a villain, right? He's been in so many Super Bowls in the last, several Super Bowls that it's, people are kind of getting sick of seeing him. He's kind of like a villain, but there was a few articles anywhere comparing him to Darth Vader, right? And he wears the number 15, of course, but that's where my connection to Patrick Mahomes was, and forgot to show you guys that. But anyways, so there's the connection with Patrick Mahomes and Darth Vader. Soleimani, he has that 83, that 803 months to the Super Bowl, and the 1,500 days to the Super Bowl from his birth and death date. And of course, Bobby Simpson had showed this to me. Kobe Bryant, he died on 1/26/2020 in a helicopter crash. Right, that's another air-related vehicle, and it's 211 weeks. So thanks to Bobby Simpson for pointing that out to me. And he also pointed out this Star Wars connection to the Star Wars plane that was parked on the video here, and then started putting two and two together, so to speak, and checking out all these other themes with Star Wars. But so thanks to Bobby again for pointing this Star Wars plane out on this Japanese runway collision. And I think there was actually another runway collision this week sometime too. I can't remember where. I think it was a JetBlue plane, but yeah, tons of air-related things. We have Taylor Swift flying in from Japan, and then even in the episode of Simpsons 211, we have the Japanese chef preparing the pufferfish, the fugu, the bluefish, the blue theme here. And then we just had JetBlue, I think. I don't have that slide. I think I erased that slide for some reason. I don't know why. But anyways, just want to show you all that. Super interesting with the Super Bowl this year, this Star Wars theme. And, yep, just want to show you guys that. Thanks to Bobby Simpson for kind of getting me started on the path here. And then there's a lot more to this. This is kind of just a quick run of all the things that I've looked into. Like I said before, this is a super synchronistically charged Super Bowl with this air theme, Star Wars theme, jet theme, and helicopter theme. So be very interesting to see what goes on in the game tomorrow between the Chiefs and the 49ers, the rematch here in Las Vegas, Sin City. Thanks for watching.